Manx Radio Sport.
Welcome to Saturday Sport, classified on Manx Radio AM 1368, bringing you the results, reaction and analysis to another busy day in Isle of Man football and hockey across Manx shores. Just a reminder for anyone looking to tune into Manx Radio Gold, if you want to stay tuned into Manx Radio Gold and we're hoping to find us on AM, Manx Radio Gold is continuing right now on Manx Radio's digital service. If you want to tune in, head on over to our website, www.manxradio.com. Head to the Listen Live tab on the homepage and then select Listen to Digital. And of course, we will be rejoining Manx Radio Gold here on AM 1368 at the conclusion of this programme. Starting things off, as ever, we will bring you the classified sporting results from across the Isle of Man for today, Saturday the 27th of September 2025. Starting with football. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Peel 10, Braddon 2. Douglas High School Old Boys 1, Union Mills 6. Laxey 0, Corinthians 0. Onken 3, Russian United 1. St John's United 2, Ayr United 2. St Mary's 1, Ramsey 2. Ardern and Druggan Limited Division 2. Douglas and District versus Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys awaiting result. Douglas Royal versus Maloo awaiting result. Moran 1, Colby 5. St George's versus Pulrose United awaiting result. Canada Life Combination 1. Braddon versus Peel postponed. Union Mills 3, Douglas High School Old Boys 10. Corinthians versus Laxey awaiting result. Russian United versus Onken awaiting result. Ayr United 2, St John's United 8. Ramsey versus St Mary's awaiting result. Ardern and Druggan Limited Combination 2. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys versus Douglas and District awaiting result. Jims versus Michael United awaiting result. Maloo versus Douglas Royal awaiting result. Colby 3, Moran 4. Castletown versus Douglas Athletic awaiting result. Pulrose United versus St George's awaiting result. Turning then to Isle of Man mixed hockey. The Mixed Premier League. Vikings A 2, Castletown Celts 3. Backers A 5, Harlequins A 1. Valkyries A 5, Castletown Southerners 2. Vikings B 3, Backers B 2. Mixed Division 1. Vikings C 1, Valkyries B 5. Harlequins B 1, Backers C 3. Valkyries C 2, Ramsey A 1. Mixed Division 2. Castletown Cosney 0, Ramsey Ravens 0. Vikings D1, Castletown Camags 2. Backers Mixed Colts 0, Castletown Cushags 0. Mixed Division 3. Backers Mixed Bucks 5, Harlequins D 3. Valkyries D 4, Backers D 2. Ramsey Rookies 0, Harlequins C 9. Castletown Carrick 2, Vikings E 1. The Mixed Under-15s League. Harlequins versus Backers awaiting result. Valkyries versus Castletown Sabres, match abandoned in first half due to waterlogged pitch, game to be replayed at a later date. And Ramsey versus Castletown Sharks awaiting result. And one more result through to us from football, and that is in Canada Life Combination 1, Russian United 4, Onken 0. Those are your classified sporting results for the Isle of Man on Saturday, the 27th of September 2025. Well, he went and braved the conditions just like everyone else today, did Tony Mepham. I think there were a couple of raised eyebrows when we saw that amber weather warning in place for the island this afternoon. But nevertheless, we've managed to get games across the Isle of Man football divisions away today. Tony Mepham, have you dried off yet?
I certainly have. It wasn't very pleasant down there, I have to say, Rob, because I started off in the stand, row 1, got soaked from waist down, and then sat in the van and covered the rest of the game there. It was pretty rough, and I feel so sorry for the players. But weather conditions, as we've just touched on, Rob. Be very, very careful travelling in from Peel, because it's pretty treacherous out there. It's all the water on that left-hand side coming from Peel.
Credit not just to the players, but also the match officials, the coaches and staff in getting the pitches ready. Of course, the conditions were nothing like as dreary earlier this morning as they were this afternoon, but credit to all involved for getting those games on.
Definitely, and they're the unsung heroes, aren't they? The people that look after the pitches, because it's a lot of ground, a lot of work to be done. And when you look at men in sheds up at Laxey on a Monday, and Castletown, Corinthians, all round the grounds here, an absolute credit to Manx football, because not like Ben and the crew, they just pitch up on a 3G pitch and crack on and play hockey. We have to prepare things, sorry Ben, and it's just weather conditions like this, it can be a little bit rough. But if there's any postponements that come in for tomorrow in the women's game, we'll notify you as soon as we know. But certainly the thick of the weather is coming in now, and be very, very careful out there.
So yeah, just a little bit of a reminder then on that weather forecast. If you've not long joined us here, there is an amber weather warning in force across the island right now for heavy rain up until 7 o'clock this evening. And the notice from forecasters over at Ronaldsway Met Office reads as follows: a band of rain will spread across the island from the west today, with the rain becoming persistent and heavy for a time later this afternoon and this evening. Rainfall accumulations are expected to be 15 to 30 millimetres quite widely across the island, but with a risk of 30 to 50 millimetres possible over higher ground. This amount of rain falling in a relatively short period of time will create difficult driving conditions, with standing water developing on the island's roads, as well as a risk of localised flooding in prone locations, particularly where any drains become blocked from fallen leaves. The rain will clear later this evening, leaving the rest of the night mostly dry. But as we've been hearing from both Tony and Ben so far on the conditions that are out there, if you are out and about at the moment across the island's roads, please do take care, with that amber weather warning for heavy rain in place until 7 o'clock this evening. OK, then let's turn our attention to the football and results taking place across the island today. We're going to start in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. And Tony, I suppose quite aptly, we're going to start with the game that you were at today out in the West of the Island. Defending champions Peel coming up against a Braddon side who you said on Friday Sport Preview last night, given the qualities they've shown against Peel, particularly not too long ago in competition as well, could have given a good crack at this. And Braddon did twice get on the score sheet, but ultimately Peel's quality shining through in the end, beating Braddon by 10 goals to 2. Yeah,
let's just talk about before the game kicked off, because today there was a minute's silence for Cian Broadhead, who unfortunately passed away last week. And credit to Peel Football Club, credit to everyone that was there, and it was just such a moving experience before kick-off, because there's a lot of upset people, as you would expect. Cian was a very, very popular lad, and the combination players were there. Their game was postponed today because the club just thought it was right that they all be together. And I've been in this situation myself at club level, and it's not nice. And it was just brilliant to watch them. There's a lot of thought gone into what's happened, and I'm pretty certain the family of Cian are very, very proud of him having friends like that, because I knew Cian from work and I knew him personally as well. And an absolute fantastic lad, and our lives won't be the same without him. There's no doubt about that one, because he was a very, very impressionable person, and I'm going to miss him big time, and I know a lot of other people are as well. But congratulations to Peel for the wreaths that were there. The Isle of Man FA presented one as well, and a beautiful touch from Braddon with 2 wreaths in there as well. And it just helps to sort of cushion the upset that the family are going through, and a credit to them. But let's have a look at the game, because it didn't take long before Peel and certainly Braddon were under a little bit of pressure, because I'll try and remember in order, because my notes here are wet, but no doubt about it, Ben Woodbridge, who started it all off with a good goal in the first one, and then Finn Donoghue got the second one. I think it was Matthew Woods with the third one. I missed that one coming into Paul's programme this afternoon, because it was that wet down there. And then the fourth one was Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown went on to get a couple more goals in the second half. One was free kick, Rob. It was unbelievable from the shed end, and he just curled it in. Keeper stood there, no chance. But they kept chipping away. I think it was Sam Kenyuk got one. And I've got also down here, Dan Pickering got a goal as well. So it was a great show. But the one I felt for the end of it which was good for him, was Taylor Andrews, because he had some awful opportunities today and it didn't quite run for him. You get games like that, but there's no doubt when he hit it to get the 10th one into the back of the net, the relief from him and the players, so sorry the occasion, but enjoy the evening. I'm pretty certain you're all together, maybe not having a drink, but just reminiscing, and rightly so too as well. But credit to everyone. And I have to say, Winston Taylor, that's his first time he's refereed a Premiership game, I believe. And I thought he did well, because, it was one of those that it could have boiled over from, Braddon sort of chasing the goals. But Mark O'Neill got one for Braddon. I'm not too sure I got the first one, the number 7, but well taken goal. But all round, that's what Manx football's all about. When the chips are down, everyone comes together, and that's what's happened today.
And just before we move on as well, just on to that subject again with the tributes that have been paid over the last couple of weeks following the news of the passing of Cian Broadhead on the 14th of September, seeing some of the images shared online of some of the tributes that have been laid down over at the Douglas Road Stadium from other clubs across the island, of course those associated with Peel, because naturally the thoughts of everyone involved in the footballing community and of course across the island as well, thinking not just of Mr Broadhead's friends and family. Naturally they would be at this particular time a devastating time for them, but also for Peel AFC as well, and the combination team that Mr Broadhead played for. Their game was postponed today, giving the team a bit of a chance to come to terms with the current circumstances. Yeah,
and there's a lot of young players in that Peel combination team, and Cian was probably the older one, and he wasn't old, he was 25 years of age, and it was fitting that the number 4 shirt was there. And I noticed the sign that's been put up down there now, Rob, that all these sort of shirts, wreaths, flowers, everything else has been moved into the shed, and to protect it with the weather that's come in now. So anybody who wants to go down, don't think that there's nothing there. It's all in the shed now, and you could just tell by just everything from Peel that they want to sort of at the moment just take on board what has sort of happened, but also give the opportunity anyone who knew Cian just to go down, pay their respects, and everything's there in the shed end.
Absolutely, Tony. Thank you very much for that. And yes, the result, Peel winning that contest today against Braddon by 10 goals to 2. But of course, the tribute's paid before kick-off and has been the case over the past 2 weeks. Just a little reminder to everyone that there are things much bigger than football going on here on the Isle of Man and across the world. Elsewhere in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, at Blackberry Lane, it was a meeting of Douglas High School Old Boys who started the weekend in the bottom 2 with 5 defeats in their opening 5 games up against Union Mills. And Union Mills, a big 3 points on the board for them, but another setback for Douglas High School Old Boys. Tough start to the season for them, Tony. Union Mills beating Old Boys by 6 goals to 1.
Well, it is. It's played 6 now and lost 6. And, Union Mills, that'll give them a real good lift. And no doubt about it, the star of the show today, Rob, was Tyler Hughes. He got 4 of the goals. Luke Booth got 1. No FC Isle of Man game, so he's allowed to slot in and play. And it just shows you what an important player he can be for Union Mills. Jordan Crawley got the other one. So, the 3 guys that stood out a couple of years ago before Luke got brought into the FC Isle of Man squad, doing the business. They know each other, how they play. And a great 3 points for Union Mills, beating Old Boys 6-1.
And one of the major games toward the top of the table this weekend was over at Glen Road between Corinthians and Laxey. Going into today's games, Corinthians and Laxey were 2 of 3 teams, along with Russian United, going into things locked together on 13 points each at the summit of the Canada Life Men's Premier League. Corinthians top by virtue of goal difference. And Laxey in the mix as well. And nothing could separate the 2 sides today over at Glen Road, Tony, and what we understand was quite a physical and intense game at times, but no one able to bag a win. It's ended goalless. Laxey 0, Corinthians 0.
Well, it certainly is, and I'm going to let you take over here, Rob, because I haven't got my glasses because I lost them at Peel. So thanks to Dean Turton, who's given us the report. This is new. We like to try something different, and Dean's just done a match report there for us.
Excellent. So we'll just read this out. Dean, thanks very much if you're listening for sending this in to us. So full time at Glen Road, and it ended goalless between Laxey and Corinthians in the Premier League. Both sides had chances, but neither could land the knockout blow. Joe Walters went closest early on with an overhead attempt for Laxey before Deaglan Blake dragged wide for the Whites, and Aidan Pickering was forced into saves from Josh Ridings and Luke Murray. Murray then saw a header come back off the post after good work from Ryan Burns. At the other end, Ed Kanga, Tom Kenny and Cameron Avery all tested Matt Quirk. After the restart, Murray spent time in the sin bin, but even with the man advantage, Laxey could not find a way through, with Kanga and Avery both denied once more. Murray had a header over, and Corinthians felt they should have had a penalty when Dan Simpson was brought down. Ben Wasser struck the post with a free kick, and the final 10 minutes saw both managers throw on extra attackers, Ethan Hawley for Laxey and Joe Middleton for Corinthians. Murray went close again in stoppage time with a header and a volley, but the Miners stood firm. After 9 minutes of added time, it finished 0-0, a stalemate that keeps both Laxey and Corinthians unbeaten this season. Stu Morris in the middle had an excellent game, especially given the horrendous conditions. Dean, thank you very much indeed for that report. And that means, Tony, just taking a look at the Premier League table, Corinthians and Laxey remain top level on points on 14. Corinthians just ahead on goal difference. And as Dean has pointed out there, both sides remain undefeated this season. Yeah, it is, because we'll come to Russian's result later on. But it's a right little battle going on in there. And as I said to you, look out for Oncom. We'll come to their results as well, and they're climbing up the table. So it's wide open with 5-6 games played for majority of the teams, and there's more interesting games coming up next week and the week after, so everyone's keeping a keen eye on it. Indeed. Well, you mentioned Onken just a moment ago. We'll come to that game now, because over the Nivison Stadium was a meeting of 4th versus 3rd in terms of Russian United. They started the game 3rd, as we mentioned, level on points with Corinthians and Laxey, heading to an Onken side that were also unbeaten this season, only 3 points further back, with 3 wins from their opening 4 games. And Onken, after another big victory last weekend, have taken a big scalp here, because Onken have beaten Russian United by 3-1. That means, Tony, Onken leapfrog Russian United in the table, up to 3rd in the table, above Russian United on goal difference, and to within 1 point of Corinthians and Laxey at the top. It's been an increasingly impressive start to the season from Onken. Very impressive, and I know the awards for Manager of the Month and Player of the Month and Under 21 will be done after today's games, and I'm pretty certain that it's going to be littered with Oncom players, because when you look at Andy Asbridge, Ethan Levers, Tom Creer for the players, and junior players, probably Ethan Levers. And when you look at, manager, there's no doubt about it, James O'Kelly will be strong in that one. And team of the month has to be Oncom. Unbelievable. And today it was Aaron Christian, I think it was, with the first one. Might have been Tom, but I know Tom got 2 goals, one from the penalty spot, so Tom's in fine form. But great performance. But from what I'm hearing, it was 2-1. Russian pulled one back on 86 minutes, and then on 88 minutes, it was Tom Creer who got the third one. Jordan Watterson had got that goal on 86, which just gave Russian a bit of a lifeline, but they couldn't get that second one. And once Tom scored his second, their third, then it was pretty well safe then, and absolute cracker result by Onken, 3-1. I suppose the $1 million question will be if Onken can keep this up, and no doubt James O'Kelly and his team will be working hard to make sure that is the case going forward. For Russian United, it's a first defeat of the season, but nevertheless a strong start for Russian, and only 1 point off the top. Onken just above them on goal difference. Elsewhere at Mullinacoy, St John's United took on Ayr United, and honours even there, Tony, 2-2. Yeah, and thanks to ex-manager Sam Brown, who was down keeping an eye on his son, see how he's doing, taking over the managership for this season. And it was Ayr United, I think, who took the lead. It was Jamie Callister. Don't know how the scoring went then, but St John's certainly their 2 goal scorers. Callum Taggart, Dean Leese as well got the second one. Mark Nixon, who scoring a few goals this year, got the second one for Ayr United. And as I say, great to see Sam Brown around. Everyone knows he's not been well. He's looking well now. Spoke to his wife today, and good reports. He's on the road to recovery, and hopefully we'll see him back at work soon. And in the early kick-off today at the Bowl, that was a 1:45 kick-off, saw St Mary's up against Ramsey. St Mary's, a tougher start for them going into this one, just the 1 win from their opening 4 games. Well, that wait for another win goes on today, because Ramsey edging them out here at the Bowl by 2-1. Yeah, I heard you when I was travelling back in, dodging the waves, that Ramsey's winning goal was scored by Tom Chattle, yes. Which Tom's been a player for Ramsey in the last couple of years. Important goals for him. I don't know who got St Mary's goal. If you could text us through, please, 166-177. But great result for Ramsey. Back in the spring of it now. Before they were really struggling at the start of the season, but now they've got it going. There's some really good players in that team, and I'll tell you what, watching today, Peel and Braddon as well, there's some really good young players coming through those 2 sides as well. That's the Canada Life Men's Premier League turn into Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2. One of the results we were waiting on at the start of the programme was between Douglas and District and Ramsey Centre and All Boys. Tony, I don't know if you have any further updates.
Got the score in, and thanks for that. We haven't got any scorers. Just shows you Dave Matheson's gone away to watch Oldham play today. Dave normally keeps in touch with us, but we've only got the score, but that'll help. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys beat Douglas and District 4-0. I think it was 2-0 at half time, 4-0 at the end.
So just very quickly on that, yes, we don't have any details on scorers there, but Ramsey Youth Centre and All Boys 3 points. Douglas and District, their winless run continues at the moment. It's been tough for them.
It's been tough for them. We've had conversations with them because obviously they're just making note of 3 clubs being allowed to, just have combination sides only. And D&D have always, gone through and quite interesting, 1 or 2 sort of comments on social media about the pitch up at Nobles Park being dug up, and I'm glad to say a lot of the work's been done before this weather has come in. But, credit to the club, Rob. D&D are one of those, I think, people's favourites. They always have 2 teams out. They just chip away nicely. They have fundraising events for charities and for themselves, and they just run the club like a club should be ran. And it's a credit to Dave Matheson and everyone there, but Dave's the mainstay for it. But 1 or 2 people there, and I'd just like to correct it, saying that why are they doing that up there? They're going to park all over at TT Week and stuff like that. My understanding is there's agreement in place that won't be used as a car park over TT. So the money that D&D have spent and the Douglas Corporation will be well used. And credit to Douglas Corporation because they've been under a little bit of pressure, everyone as well as under financial pressure, but they're spending money up there. We hopefully will be hearing some good news about the changing rooms down at Pulrose, because Douglas Corporation, Football Foundation, the Isle of Man FA, the clubs and everything are working hard behind the scenes to try and make that thing work. But D&D, Rob, when you drive past at the moment, you just see the soil there. That's moving the club forward, and hopefully in years to come they'll benefit, because the youth setup is one of the best, and if they get that all sorted out, the pitch as well, then everything's going to go well for the club.
Very well. Douglas and District 0, Ramsey Centre and All Boys 4, the full-time score. Elsewhere, over at Bala Fletcher, Douglas Royal welcomed Maloo. Now, Maloo going into this, looking to maybe try and keep tabs on the top 2 side, fellow Southern sides, Castletown and Colby, toward the top of the table when they faced Douglas Royal. However, Maloo, after a strong start to the campaign, of course still very early days, have suffered their first defeat of the season, beaten away at Douglas Royal by 4-1, Tony.
Well, that's a great result for Douglas Royal, and as you rightly say, Maloo, when you look at the score and the players that they had in that team last week, it was tremendous. Don't know if you've got any scorers there, Rob, have you?
I do indeed. I've got Douglas Royal scorers. So there's Simon Dooley, then there was 2 for Sam Greasley and 1 for Bailey Ashton. Well
done, Bailey, relation of mine, and Sam Grizzlies as well, a couple of goals, but when you look at Simon Dooley, he's been there for a long time, through the good times, and now they're rebuilding, and that's a great result for Douglas Royal, and credit to them.
Well, that just means before we move on to the next... in fact, no, we will move on to the next result first because it will give some context here. Moran were at home to Colby, and now with the leaders Castletown, the top of Division 2, not in action this weekend after winning 5 games from 5. It was a chance for Colby in second to move within a point of their fellow Southerners if they were able to take 3 points at Moran today. And Colby have done exactly that in quite comprehensive style as well. They've beaten Moran by 5-1.
And I think certainly today it's all down to the hard work in the second period from what I'm seeing here. But it was Steve Collis, who a couple of weeks ago was a Douglas Royal player, has moved back home, and it's going well for him because a couple of goals for him. Miol Mucker, Ollie Edge got a goal as well. Sam Mulland as well. Well done, Sam. And thank you for every week putting the scores through us. It's much appreciated. And Carl Hickey as well, returning back to Colby after transferring to Douglas Royal at the start of the season. Got the other one. It was Tom Redmond who got the goal for Moran.
And the other game in Division 2, the fourth and final game here, is St George's versus Pulrose United. We didn't have a result before, Tony. I think we've had an update.
Yep.
In fact, you're going to bring me into the mix yet again.
I am, but I'll just give you the score.
Because the glasses have gone awry here.
The score I had was St George's 1, Pulrose 3. I think it was Joe Canepa with 2 goals.
Well, the result that we have here in front of us, St George's 2, Pulrose United 4. So scorers for St George's, George Kissick and Lewis Richardson. And for Pulrose, there was 2 for Joe Canepa, 1 for Owen Canepa, and 1 for Nathan Harrison as well. So St George's 2, Pulrose United 4.
Yeah, and by all accounts, St George's weren't bad, Rob. And St George's young goalkeeper, not too sure of his name, was excellent. So well done to them. And George Kissick was the pick of the bunch, I think, from what I'm hearing for St George's. So Carl Gartland's doing a good job down there. But Pulrose, when you've got the Canepa boys in there, Owen and Joe, you're going to have a tough afternoon because they're 2 really good forwards pushing forward.
So before we move on, take a look at the Ardern and Drugger Limited Division 2 table. This is how it looks. Castletown currently sitting top with 5 wins from 5, 15 points on the board. Colby now moving to within a point of Castletown on 14 points, 4 wins and 2 draws. But obviously that, of course, means that Colby have now played 1 game more than Castletown at this point. And already, Tony, a 7-point gap between Colby and then Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys in 3rd at the moment. And Malou just below Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys on goal difference now. And even at this early stage of the season, does that seem like a big gap for others to overcome?
You can catch up very quickly. You can do because, when you look at the teams around them, we're expecting to rise. Ramsey Youth Centre getting momentum. Douglas Royal back on song today. But look at Castletown and Colby. I was talking to one of the senior guys at Castletown today, Chris Callow, and just saying that the buzzing, the way it's going, the young players have really stepped up to it. Gary Sansbury's got his team playing really well, and credits to them. And Castletown, have been sort of there or thereabouts over the last couple of years. We think you're nearly there, but you're not there. This year, they're looking the finished article.
Well, still a fair few games to go, but Castletown very much in the driving seat with Colby just behind them as it stands at the moment. Moving on to Canada Life Combination 1, as we mentioned earlier in the programme, if you missed it. Braddon versus Peel in Canada Life Combination 1 postponed this week following a request being granted from the Alaman Football Association earlier this week. So moving on, there were 5 games today. Union Mills versus Douglas High School, Old Boys and Old Boys, a convincing victory away from home by 10 goals to 3.
Absolutely, yeah. Belting performance by Old Boys. And when you look at the goal scorers here, Dean France with 2, Callum Yates got a couple of goals, Lex Johnson got 2, Dave Wilson with 2 goals, Tyler Lattis Callister with a single one, and Steve McDonald as well. So a good day out for the Old Boys combination team. For Union Mills, it was Wyston Lauriston, I think it is, Rahul Coots who got 1, and Brandon Gurton got the other one. So Union Mills 3, Douglas High School Old Boys 10.
One more result we were waiting for from Bala Fletcher was in combination 1 between Corinthians and Laxey. Tony, any further updates?
I think last time I heard, Rob, it was Corinthians 4, Laxey 5. And this game was ding-dong right the way through the afternoon. I'm not saying these are the exact scores, but it was something like 1-0 Laxey, 1-1, 2-1 Corinthians, 2-2. Something just going backwards and forwards. And then last time I heard, I think it was Corinthians 4, Laxey 3. And then suddenly I heard through that it was might be Laxey 5, Corinthians 4. We'll get that checked, but that was probably about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are listening out there and you do have any confirmed details on that game between Corinthians and Laxey and Canada Life Combination 1, please do text or WhatsApp us 166 177. Elsewhere, Russian United up against Onken, 2 of the, I suppose, if you like, big hitters in the combination leagues over the past couple of seasons. Tony, Russian United with a convincing victory at Croyt Lowy today by 4 goals to 0.
Yeah, but it wasn't sort of Russians' way in the first half because it was 0-0 at half-time, all done in the second half. And Fingal Watterson with 1, Luke Roberts on the score sheet, Joe Kelly back in playing, and Charlie Kelly got the other one. So, yeah, Russian remain sort of top of the table, going well. Ramsey pushing, but Corinthians today, by the look of it, have dropped points.
Elsewhere at Andres Playing Fields, a good result for St John's United's combination side on the road, beating Ayr United 8-2.
And it was 4-1, was it, at half-time? It was James Moore with 1, Liam Bull with a couple of goals. Well done there, Liam. We've got John Haggerton on the score sheet, and Roberts, I think it is, got the other one. But St John's coming out there, worthy winners, 8-2 against Ayr.
Now, the last we heard, and this was some time ago now, was that Ramsey against St Mary's in Canada Life Combination 1, Ramsey were leading by 3 goals to 1, but that was some time ago. I wonder if, Tony, if we've had any updates since then on that particular fixture.
I think there's a text message just come through on that one, so we'll see if we can get that one up, Rob. And it was, yep, there we go. Ramsey combination half-time. Ramsey 3, St Mary's 1. Ramsey 3 scorers were Ryan Kelly with 3, Jason Crane with 2, so the score must have increased. Don Parrish got 1 and Rob Morton on the score sheet. Charlie Crane got a goal as well, so it could have finished up by the names that we've got on there. Ramsey 8, St Mary's 1.
Okay, and if anyone can get us some confirmation on that, please do text or WhatsApp us 166 177. Tony, thank you very much for that update. Now, we were still waiting for quite a few results to make their way through to us in our Durn and Drung Unlimited combination 2, but we'll start with the result that we do have at the moment, a 7-goal thriller at Station Fields between Colby and Marown. And in terms of going into this weekend, the table-wise, Colby sitting in mid-table, as were Marown in a not too dissimilar position in what is a busy league this season. Colby 3, Marown 4.
And I think it was for Colby, I've got their scorers anyway by the look of it. And it's Jackson Ladd got 1, Steve McIntosh got 1, and Sean, I can't read the writing on that one, but for Marown, I haven't got their goal scorers.
And elsewhere, the other games that we had was Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys versus Douglas and District.
Got the score only. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 7, Douglas and District 1.
And another result we were waiting on was as well Jim's hosting Michael United.
I haven't got the score on that
yet.
one. No.
So in the south of the island as well, Malou up against Douglas Royal.
Malou 2, Douglas Royal 12. And it's a bit like Dad's Army, this lot here, because we've got Kevin Ballard with 3 goals. We've got not Conor Dempsey, I wouldn't class him as a Dad's Army. He got 3. Tom Colser got 1. Paddy Dempsey, he plays in the Masters. He got a goal. Mike Quine plays in the Masters. He got 1 as well. And Wes Gibson got the other one. So cracking result that for Douglas Royal, winning 12-2 against Malou.
And only their second win of the season as well, and doing it in some style as well. Douglas Royal beating Malou by 12-2. Well, elsewhere, Tony, we were still waiting on a result between Castletown and Douglas Athletic.
And we've got Castletown 2, Douglas Athletic 8. Haven't got the goal scorers from Douglas Athletic, but for Castletown it was 2 goals by Fingal Mulligan.
Douglas Athletic looking to try and keep pace with the current Combination 2 leaders, Paul Rose United, and their Combination side involved in Combination 2 today at home to St George's.
Haven't got the score, Rob.
So we'll just have to wait and see. Could be a bit of a nervous wait to see what the table looks like. Like I say, if we have looked at any games today that we don't have any information for, and you have any information out there, please do let us know. Text or WhatsApp 166 177. Well, that's the results we have for the moment in Manx football, and if there are any others in the next few moments, we'll bring them to you, of course. But Tony, I want to just very quickly turn to a subject that we didn't really touch upon on Friday Sport Preview last night in the world of football, because away from the Isle of Man leagues, of course, there was significant change at FC Isle of Man over the last 7 days. It was confirmed earlier this week that first team manager Paul Jones was stepping down from his role with immediate effect, and in the days and hours following, it was confirmed that Rick Holden, former Manchester City and Oldham Athletic player and has been involved in the coaching scene on the Isle of Man for quite a few years now, will be taking up the post as caretaker manager on an interim basis. His first game in charge will be next week, Saturday the 4th of October, when FC Isle of Man are at home to Barnoldswick Town. Tony, just quickly first, obviously a lot of moving parts to what's been going on over the last week with regards to FC Isle of Man. What have you made of the situation as far as you understand it?
I think we discussed it at length a few times, Rob. The way the results were going, something had to maybe happen. I don't blame Paul. He's not all to blame. The players are the ones that play on the park. I know Paul picks the team, but it's just getting some belief back into that team. I'm not saying he's delighted that he's not manager, but he's got his life back, that's for sure, because the amount of dedication that he's put into FC Isle of Man is unrivaled. It's unbelievable what he's had to do, because I've watched it from outside looking in, and absolutely incredible. So hopefully his daughter and his wife Sarah are glad to have him back, because there's been a lot of pressure on him over the last few games to try and get those results, to get the points, to get them to climb up the table. But Rick Holden spoke to Rick today about it a little bit, and that'll remain private. We'll let Rick have his say first. But I'm so fortunate to have worked close with Rick, not only with the Ireland team, but just anything to do with football. Rick seems to be there involved, and he's done a great job for the Ireland team in the Ireland Games, and I was delighted when Chris Bass took him on board. And whenever I spoke to Rick, I say, where are you with the Isle of Man Football Association? And he always says, I'm there, you know where I am, just give me a ring and I'll come and help you. And that's what he's done for FC Isle of Man, because it was just one of them. Paul had gone, and they've got Rick in, and he's by far the best coach on the Isle of Man. No disrespect to the others. So he knows what the game is, and I wish him well. I wish FC Isle of Man well, because if FC Isle of Man's in a good place, Manx football's in a good place. But if FC Isle of Man are struggling a little bit, I think Manx football's down a little bit, because that's the next step that we, as the Isle of Man FA, can't give our players, but FC Isle of Man can. So I wish Rick well, and hopefully FC Isle of Man can start getting some points on the board.
Indeed, and just a reminder then, the FC Isle of Man caretaker manager Rick Holden's first game in charge will be FC Isle of Man versus Barnoldswick Town in the NWCFL Premier Division next Saturday, the 4th of October, kicking off at the Bowl at 6 p.m. And Manx Radio will be bringing you full live match commentary of that game on Manx Radio AM 1368 and digital channels as well. FC Isle of Man 22nd in the NWCFL Premier Division going into this weekend. Incidentally, no league games in the NWCFL this weekend. The focus on the Macron Cup competitions as well. In fact, we've just had an update here, Tony, on one of the games that has taken place there. Just very basic information. That was actually from Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. We just had a message in that said that Paul Rose United versus St George's, the game was cancelled. St George's didn't have enough players.
Right, okay.
No further details from that point, but thank you for that update that is sent through to us. And Tony, just finally before we move things on, just on this subject of FC Isle of Man, today as well, the supporters group, the Ravens 12th Man, have issued quite a lengthy statement with regards to their views on both the departure of Paul Jones and the appointment of Rick Holden as well. So they said with the statement they wanted to address both sides of that, and one of the things they pointed out, they wanted to make it clear that they didn't want to make a knee-jerk reaction. They wanted to take time, in their words, to consider what they wanted to say rather than speaking in the heat of the moment. This is what the Ravens 12th Man had to say about Paul Jones' departure, Tony. They said, Paul Jones has been one of the key figures in the creation of this club. He helped establish FC Isle of Man, giving us a team to follow, creating a pathway for Manx talent and providing local players with opportunities to progress in the sport. Without him, there may well have been no club at all. Since taking over as manager in 2022, Paul has devoted a large part of his life to the Ravens. He has made plans, built a squad, and worked hard to raise standards for individual players and for the team as a whole. His dedication came at a time when the club was facing change, and he gave everything to the role. Many of us in the 12th Man recognised his effort and stood behind him even when results were difficult. The start of this season has been tough, but with several senior players stepping back at the end of last year, we knew that this would be a rebuilding period. Even in the hardest times, Paul was there to face the questions head-on. He never hid and always made himself available to speak to the media team after matches, explaining the results and taking responsibility. In doing so, he protected his young players and allowed them to focus on their football. In recent weeks, squad members have made it clear how much they valued this leadership, and supporters did too. It is also worth remembering that FC Isle of Man is a community club. When we sing "They're all of our own," that includes the coaching and management staff as well as the players. The club exists to give all of them the chance to develop at a higher level. Paul has always made time for supporters. He has engaged with us from the sidelines, and after away games he often joined us in clubhouses up and down the northwest counties. He never shied away from a chat or a pint or failed to share a word or a smile, and that meant a lot. While we are saddened by the decision that Paul is stepping aside, we will remember his time in the hot seat fondly. We wish nothing but the best for him and his family, and whatever comes next, he will always be welcome in Conspiracy Corner and in the hearts of the 12th Man. So a lengthy statement there, Tony, but from the supporters group perspective, it seems with the message out there, a lot of gratitude despite the difficult results this season.
A very apt statement, I think. I don't know who's written that, but it's well written, and it's true, every single word in that, because I feel for Paul. I really do, losing the position or walking away from the position. But when you look at that 12th Man, we watch them on that right-hand side from our commentary point, and they are well and truly engaged in that team. And I look at the people there. I know Bruce Parkinson when he played football, but a lot of them, I don't think, followed Manx football. So that's what Paul Jones has done, is tapped into an absolute different set of supporters, and I've seen some of their videos and it's absolutely incredible. You know, they must be the best supporters in the Northwest Counties League, because they are so passionate. They've got songs for them, they've got song sheets out there so you can practice the words when they're out and playing and singing, and it's unbelievable. I'm glad the drummer has sort of toned it down a little bit, because it used to be beaten around, but credit to them all, and it just shows you what sort of Paul Jones has actually done to the FC Isle of Man family. He's engaged with them all, and whatever Paul's going to do, because don't forget, this was his baby, FC Isle of Man. This was what he set up with other people, And unfortunately, it's not gone to plan for him playing side, but I'm sure whether he comes on the board or whatever, he's got a big place to play in Manx football somewhere along the line. And I would just say sit back, take stock for the rest of the season, because you've done one heck of an incredible job. And that first season, I'll remember it forever. You couldn't have written a book like that, Rob, if you wanted something to happen in your hobby. And that's what Paul Jones has done. And that first season was absolutely incredible.
Chris Bass Senior was in charge of the footballing side of things on the pitch back.
Correct.
Paul Jones
But
on the board with a switch around going into the next season. Well, the Ravens 12th man, just very quickly as well, have also just given their thoughts on the appointment of Rick Holden as first team caretaker manager. Tony, I know you've given your thoughts already, but this is what the Ravens 12th man group have to say about Mr. Holden's appointment. The second matter is the appointment of Rick Holden as caretaker manager. In our view, this is the strongest appointment the board could have made at this time. Much has already been said about his Premier League playing career with clubs such as Manchester City and Oldham Athletic. For us, what matters most is his contribution to football on the Isle of Man since moving here in 1996. He has managed Peel and Ayr United to league success and played a key role in the Isle of Man FA's gold medal at the 2017 Ireland Games. His knowledge of the game and his understanding of Manx football cannot be questioned. His task now is a critical one: steady the ship, rebuild confidence, and ideally steer the squad back toward winning ways. He may be stepping into a tough situation mid-season, but we believe he has the experience, local credibility and character to do so. At present, we understand that the duration of his tenure is still uncertain, whether he's in charge for 3 games for the rest of the season or beyond. One thing is clear: Rick is the right appointment at this time, and the 12th man will back him with the same ferocity and unity we show at every game. So here's to Rick and to the team. Good luck. We look forward to cheering you and your squad on in the upcoming fixture against Barnoldswick Town on Saturday the 4th of October. What do you make of that, Tony?
Outstanding. You know, it's touching and well done to them all. Rick Holden should be running Manx football, to be honest with you, but he's got a job that as a physiotherapist, and you know, it's difficult to pack it all in, but any dealings I've had with Rick is just truly professional. He's an absolute credit to Manx football, and Manx football is in a better place, whether it's the Isle of Man FA or whether it's FC Isle of Man, with Rick Holden involved.
Tony Mepham, thank you very much. Well, I think I've kept you here for so long, you're probably dried out after all that wet weather earlier today, so we'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening,
I'm
Tony.
going to drive home and listen to Ben.
Thank you very much, Tony Mepham.
Manx Radio Sport.
Finally, tonight we're going to turn our attention to Isle of Man hockey, and just like with the football, despite the poor weather closing in, we've been able to get a busy schedule of Isle of Man hockey fixtures across the mixed leagues underway today, and he's been sat here waiting patiently as always, and now we can dive into what's been going on. Good evening to our hockey correspondent, Ben Cunningham.
Good evening. Yeah, if you're in Peel and you find some glasses, give Tony Mepham a phone call.
Absolutely, they could be floating around anywhere at this point. We just
anywhere.
don't know. But Ben, similarly to what I mentioned to Tony before as well, with the weather that has hit the island today, and of course forecasters have warned about that amber weather warning for heavy rain, which does remain in place, by the way, until 7 o'clock this evening. We have been able to get the vast majority of games on today, so credit to organisers across the Manx Hockey Association.
Yeah, it was great. We've managed to get all but one game. Unfortunately, the 3:30 under-15s game between Valkyries and Castletown Savers, that match ended up being abandoned just 20 minutes in. Unfortunately, Peel's pitch is suffering a bit with drainage issues, and basically from that the pitch just gathered up water, and the rain, when it came on heavy, and it's just sat on the surface, which meant unfortunately it just wasn't safe for the game to continue. Unfortunately though, it does mean that is another game on the list for rescheduling, but not too many games so far. Only 2 games that we're needing to reschedule, 1 senior and 1 junior so far.
Well, let's hope for no further disruption throughout the season. We can never promise anything with the unpredictability of the Manx weather at times, but we hope so. Thank you for that, Ben. Let's take a look at the games that did take place today. The vast majority of the schedule did go ahead as planned. Starting with the mixed Premier League. Now, the early pushback today saw Vikings A, predicted at the start of the season to be one of the challengers to defending champions Backers A. They suffered a shock defeat to Backers B last weekend, hoping to get back on a winning trail, if you like, up against Castletown Celts at King William's College. But thanks to star of the show, George Powell, for Castletown Celts, Vikings A, another stumble for them, but a great result for Castletown Celts, beating Vikings A by 3-2.
And what did I say last night? Never rule out a Castletown team, and they've done it. As you say, George Powell with a hat-trick for Castletown Celts, getting that win over Vikings A. Could that be potentially maybe the title race over for them? It's early stages, but we'll wait and see. Kim Carney with the 2 goals for Vikings A, but massive result for Celts there.
Yeah, we'll just take a look at the table in just a few moments' time as well, but we'll look at the other results that took place. Ben, one of the games that you were at today saw the defending champions Backers A at the NSC up against Harlequins A, who were actually went into this game second in the table by virtue of goal difference. A tough day for Harlequins A up against the defending champions, who showed their quality today, beating Harlequins by 5-1.
Yeah, and I mean, at half-time it was only 1-1, so it was a really close end-to-end game. It was really good watching, spectating and giving you live reports throughout the afternoon of the game. Elliot Reid with a hat-trick and Doug Quayle with 2 goals for Backers A, and then the Harlequins goal came from George Radcliffe.
And elsewhere in the west of the island, Valkyries A took on newly promoted Castletown Southerners. Southerners gave this one a good go, Ben, but ultimately Valkyries A's quality showing through. Valkyries A winning 5-2.
Yeah, great result there for Valkyries A. Again, Castletown Southerners, they've just not quite been able to get the finishing touch there, but they are giving teams a good run for their money. Each week they're scoring at least 2 goals against the opposition, but just can't quite cement the victory. Ethan Adams with 2, Alex Neal with 2, and Jess Loader with 1. And then for Castletown Southerners, it was Andrew Winstanley with 2 goals.
And the fourth and final game, the Mixed Premier League today, 5-2 pushback at King William's College. Saw Vikings B up against Backers B, battle of the B teams, as I know you like to coin that phrase, Ben. Absolutely. Vikings B coming out on top in this one. Backers B, after that shock win last weekend, not able to quite keep it up against Vikings B. Vikings B winning by 3-2.
Yeah, great result there for Vikings B. Kyle Gunyon, Jacob Harding and Josh Knight, all the goals for Vikings B. And then for Backers B, it was Will Wiseman and Cian Ledridge.
And as it stands at the moment, of course, we are waiting to get a consolidated table, just waiting for all the relative scores to be ratified. But going off the stats that we have in front of us, Backers A will be maintaining their position with a perfect record of 3 wins from 3 on 6 points at the top of the Mixed Premier League. But Castletown Celts moving up to second on 5, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Celts and Backers meet in 2 weeks' time. So that's going to be a very tasty game, to say the least. For Vikings A, though, it is very much going to have to be back to the drawing board and possibly look at where they need to work on. But it's still early days. There's still plenty of time for things to happen. Backers A could have a slip-up. You just don't know. But looking at the way things are going so far, Backers A coming into this weekend, 22 goals scored and only 2 conceded. It's looking like a very tough task to stop Backers A this season.
Indeed, it could well be that the rest of the league has a job on their hands trying to catch Backers A, but plenty of time to go. Mixed Division 1 then. We'll take a look at Mixed Division 1. The early pushback today was at QE2 between Vikings C and Valkyries B. And coming out on top in this one was Valkyries B by 5-1.
Yeah, Addison Heaton for Vikings C, and then for Valkyries B, it was Ollie Webster with 2, Rob Conda, Eleanor Devereaux and Neil Jacobs, all with goals for Valkyries B, giving them that great result.
Then the lunchtime game, 12:35 at the NSC, saw Harlequins B up against Backers C. And Backers C, the league leaders going into this weekend, beating Harlequins B by 3-1.
Yeah, great game this was to watch. This was the first of 2 games I covered this afternoon on Saturday Live. Quinn's taking the lead and then Backers clawing it back. And then just in the last half of the game, just Harlequins just seemed to run out of energy and Backers seemed to gain an extra gear. Alex Stewart, Chris Bass and Conor McMahon for Backers C, and then for Harlequins B it was Caleb Blakemore.
And the other game in Mixed Division 1 was a meeting of 2 sides still looking for their first win of the campaign. It was Valkyries C up against Ramsey A at Ramsey Grammar School. And it's Valkyries C who've got their first victory of the current season. Only just, though, beating Ramsey A by 2-1. Close contest here, Ben.
Yeah, really close game. From the reports we've had from both captains, it was end-to-end, 1-1 at half-time. So the crucial goal came in the second half there. Chris Thomas with 1 and Chris Adams with 1 for Valkyries C. And then for Ramsey, it was Victoria Garner.
Moving on to Mixed Division 2, 3 games there. And I know, Ben, we've talked about this a lot, and maybe those of a hockey persuasion aren't necessarily aware of this all the time. And if you're not, that goalless draws are quite a rarity, not just in Manx hockey, but in quite a lot of hockey divisions in general across the likes of the UK as well. We have not just one, but 2 goalless draws today in Mixed Division 2. I'm sure someone might have a stat somewhere, but it certainly evades me as to how long it'll have been since we've had 2 goalless draws in the same division on a match day. We'll start there with the early pushback, Castle Rushen High School, and that saw Castletown Cosney, who went into today as league leaders up against Ramsey Ravens, still searching for their first win of the season. Castletown Cosney 0, Ramsey Ravens 0. Does that feel more like points dropped for Cosney or points gained for Ravens?
I think it'll be more points gained for Ravens, to be honest. Cosney, of course, promoted up from Division 3 last year into Division 2. Of course, they won the title. And, they've been looking really good. And the report I've had from the Cosney captain was a well-balanced game, which could have gone either way. The young players on both teams showing great skill and great gamesmanship, and there's been asked to give the umpires of this game a mention for fantastic officiating.
So, Mixed Division 2, the other 2 games. Well, that means that Cosney, with that draw against Ramsey Ravens, that allowed Backers Mixed Colts, who've only played once so far this season, the chance to potentially leapfrog Castletown Cosney toward the top of the table in these early stages when they played Castletown Cushags, rooted to the bottom going into this weekend with a draw and a defeat in their opening 2 games so far. But Backers Mixed Colts, they've missed the opportunity to push toward the top today because they were involved in the other goalless draw, 0-0 with Castletown Cushags. So, from Cushags' perspective especially, is that a good point?
Yeah, I think for Cushags, definitely that is a good point, and it keeps them in the mix because that league, you've got the league in front of you, Rob. That league is looking really, really tight so far. And I mean, we're only week 3, but there's still so much to play for, and that league is building up to be quite a competitive league. Absolutely. But yeah, a 0-0 draw, and the reports from this game, because this was a 3:35 pushback, both captains pretty much have said they were glad when the full-time whistle went.
And those 2 goalless draws mean that it presented an opportunity for Castletown Camags to actually move to the top of Mixed Division 2, as Ben has rightly pointed out, very tightly contested in these early stages. And Castletown Camags have managed to do that. They actually moved to the top ahead of fellow Castletown side, Castletown Cosney, on goal difference because Castletown Camags have beaten Vikings D by 2-1 today. Yeah,
Joe Roney for Vikings D, and then 2 goals for Lola Hornby Wheeler. I think Camags have got a game in hand, though, against Backers Colts, because obviously their game last weekend was affected by, again, Peel's pitch, unfortunately flooding. So that game is going to probably be very crucial when it gets played, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, very hotly contested in Mixed Division 2 at the moment. Mixed Division 3, 4 games there today. The early pushback saw Backers Mixed Bucks up against Harlequins D, an entertaining one this one at the NSC, Ben. Mixed Bucks beating Harlequins D by 5-3.
Yeah, really good entertaining game. I was took part in this game, and it was really good fun. Both sides full of young upcoming talent with a few senior players. I will put it that way, because there'll probably be a few of them listening. And that Dave Partingham, one of the senior players, showing them all how it's done with 2 goals. His son then, Ollie Parton, getting a goal, even more with 1, and Grace Evans with 1. And then for Harlequins, it was Ollie Barber, Sack Barlow, and then some fella called Ben Cunningham managed to put 1 in the back of the net, but we won't dwell on that one.
I don't rate this Ben Cunningham too much. I don't think he doesn't sound like the greatest of players, does he? Anyway, 12:35 pushback at QE2 saw Valkyries D taking on Backers D. Valkyries D went into the weekend top of the table, just ahead of Backers D. Both of them level on points. Valkyries D only ahead on goal difference. A big step maybe for Valkyries D, Ben, because they've beaten Backers D by 4-2.
Yeah, and it was the Miller family making the headlines in this game. Emma Miller, Greg Miller, and William Miller all on the score sheet with Johnny Kane for Valkyries D. And then for Backers D, it was Christian Davies and Dave Neal, but a big result there for Valkyries D in their quest to get back up into Division 2.
There was a comprehensive win at Ramsey Grammar School as Harlequin C took on Ramsey Rookies. Harlequin C, good result for them today, winning by 9-0.
Yeah, and I know Ramsey Rookies are very much using this team to develop their younger players, giving them the opportunity in the senior league, which is great to see for Ramsey doing that. And again, they've got a young team with a couple of senior players, and it's just great to see that in this league, a lot of their teams are like that. But Harlequins see showing their class today. Corey Corkill with 5 goals, Cal Green with 1, Lara Smith with 1, David Smith with 1, and Josh Halumbi with 1.
And finally, in Mixed Division 3, Castletown Carrick up against Vikings E at Castle Rushen High School. First points and first win of the season for Castletown Carrick, beating Vikings E by 2-1.
And I know the captain of that team, Kenny, will be delighted with that result. I'm sure he's listening as I speak. Chris Crompton-Harvey with 1 and Willa Schrocks with 1 for Castletown Carrick. And then for Vikings E, it was James Barker.
And just finally, a quick mention for the Mixed Under-15s League today. We had 3 games scheduled today, all of them pushing back at 3:35. Ben, just a reminder for those who missed it earlier, one of the games today, Mixed Under-15s League, had to be abandoned in the first half because of a waterlogged pitch.
Yeah, so the game between Valkyries and Castletown Sabres was abandoned with 20 minutes played, as far as I've been reported. That game will be getting rescheduled because it has not surpassed the time period to declare a result. So yeah, that is another game to add to the fixtures officers' distress.
Elsewhere, we did have 2 other games in the Mixed Under-15s League today, which did go the distance over at the NSC. Harlequins and Backers, it ended all square, 1-1.
Yeah, Aidan Lease for Harlequins, and for Backers it was Ben Moore. A really competitive game from what both managers have said on the text coming through.
And finally today, last but certainly not least, in the Mixed Under-15s League, Ramsey up against Castletown Sharks at Ramsey Grammar School, the hosts coming out on top by 3-1.
Yeah, Civil Lincoln with 1, Jed Dixon Harpwell with 1, and Sienna Curfey with 1 for Ramsey. And then for Castletown Sharks, it was Barnaby Vivian.
And just a very quick question, Ben. You mentioned, obviously, we've had a couple of games that have been postponed over the last couple of weeks due to waterlogged pitches. It is a occupational hazard that hockey goes through each season on the Isle of Man, and no doubt elsewhere as well. But just again, for those who don't know, when you do have these games that may build up a little bit, what are the options available to the likes of the league officials to fit those games in down the line?
So the deal that normally happens is they can either use their training slot. So instead of the club's training going ahead that night, the fixture will be played in that training slot time. Again, it is down to both teams negotiating an agreement as well to getting a time that works well for both teams as well. So that also comes into an account. But then also, of course, we have to make sure we've got at least 2 umpires available for that game to go ahead, because obviously we need 2 umpires for the game to go ahead. So far, like I say, we've only got 2 games which we were having to reschedule. Of course, we had Backers Colts against Camags last week postponed due to the waterlogged pitch. This week we've had Valkyries against Castletown Sabres postponed, so that one will be due to be arranged. But so far, so good. Unfortunately, Peel's pitches not once but twice let us down, unfortunately. But it's the nature of the weather, unfortunately, today. It has been grim.
Yeah, no one can control the elements, but we've still got a busy schedule that has taken place. Ben, thank you very much as always. And thank you very much for tuning in to Saturday Sport Classified here on Manx Radio AM 1368. We'll be handing back over to Manx Radio Gold very shortly. But just a reminder for those, if you're out and about and haven't heard throughout today with those changing weather conditions so far this afternoon, an amber weather warning remains in place across the island for heavy rain until 7 o'clock this evening. Rainfall accumulation is expected to be 15 to 30 millimetres quite widely across the island, with a risk of 30 to 50 millimetres, 50 possible, over higher ground. The amount of rain falling in a relatively short period of time will create difficult driving conditions, with standing water developing on the island's roads, as well as a risk of localised flooding in prone locations, particularly where any drains become blocked from fallen leaves. So again, just a reminder, if you are out and about in the current weather conditions, please just do take care of the potential conditions out there. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and if you want to catch up with anything that's taken place on Saturday Sport Classified tonight, it will be available as a podcast later this evening. But we'll now be handing back over to Manx Radio Gold. From me and the team, until next time, it is bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.